let's put some new strings on my 5-string violin. Hello! Let's spend some quality time with my 5-string violin. I've been neglecting this one quite badly, and that's mainly because there is some room for improvement in the sound. So that's when I thought, why not install a new set of strings on this violin and see how I like it. So let's go. So this violin was given to me last year by the company of Thomann, which is the biggest music store in Europe. They gifted me this violin in return for a promo video. And in case you're wondering how that happened, well, I was very eager to try a 5-string violin, so I've just sent them an email and asked it. And they agreed. At first, the setup of this violin wasn't very ideal, considering this is a 5-string violin. Finger spacing is quite important, and in this violin the finger spacing was too narrow, and that meant that getting used to it was quite tricky. So that's why I took this violin to the luthier last year, and I've had him lower the nut height as well as the bridge height. I also asked the luthier if he could alter the string spacing to make it the same as if it were a 4-string violin. And luckily that was possible, because this violin has a normal violin body, but the neck and scroll are of a viola. So that's why there was room for an extra peg, and the fingerboard is wider, so there is room for the 5 strings. Before we continue, let's have a go at playing this violin again and getting used to it. So let's see how that goes. And this violin, when I got it, came with, I believe they were dominant strings. And the C string, I think, was a viola C string. And I found out that both the Vision string set comes with a C string for violin, but then the Helicore strings also have a C string for violin. And eventually I went with these because they are synthetic, and I thought that would sound nicer. By the way, I used Vision for the C string, but Vision Solo for the rest. Or actually, I used my favorite E string, which is the Pirastro Gold. The lower 3 strings, the C, G and D, they are very warm and fuzzy. And then you go to the A and E string, and it's just harsh and shrieking. Of course, sound post alterations can be done, but in the end this is a factory violin and not a very expensive one either. So I'm not sure how much that would help. However, I have moved the bridge a bit. I have slided the bridge slightly to that side to try and lower the volume of the higher strings and to give, hopefully, a bit more oomph to the lower strings. And luckily that helped a tiny bit. Alright, that's enough chit chat. Let's install some new strings. So, first impression, I really like it. These strings have been on my violin for a good hour now. I installed them, tuned them, then I went downstairs for some lunch, and when I returned an hour later, they were still almost in tune. So that's a really nice advantage of having steel strings. Overall, so far, I'm really happy I got these strings because the violin has much more punch and articulation now, and that's really nice. Although the A is still a bit louder compared to the D string, it's not as loud and harsh as I feared it would be, so that's nice. But then we get to the E string and my ears are bleeding. It's loud. It's really loud compared to the others. And here you can see me rambling on for way too long about all the different A and E strings that I have and that might work better. And then I decided to try basically all of them until I found a combination that I really liked. And now it's 2 weeks later. Hello. So it's been a week or two and I have a cold. So I thought I would wait for a bit before recording the rest of this video, but it's not really getting any better, so we'll just have to make do with this. I feel a bit like Phoebe from Friends when she has a cold and then she sounds all raspy and sexy. Well, my voice was worse a few days ago, so we'll just have to make do. Okay, so the 5-string violin. I think this violin has the ultimate combination of strings on it now. So what we have here now is a Helicore C, G and D, and then we have a Prelude A string, and then a low tension Pirastro Gold E string. And this combination of strings makes sure that the lower strings, which are a bit muddy, are getting that punch, and that the higher strings, which are quite loud, are being tamed a bit. And also all the strings on this violin have a steel core, so that makes for an even playing experience. Helicore strings have a steel core and the Prelude strings have that as well. But Prelude strings are just a bit more muffled. The Helicore A string on this violin wasn't actually bad at all, but it was just too loud in comparison to the rest of the set. And the Helicore E string was just way too loud, so I had to replace that one anyway. But I think we have a really nice setup now. So let's have a listen. Well, this was a really nice experiment to do. And I was pleasantly surprised that steel strings made this violin sound a lot better. But I have been thinking, I just don't play on this violin. I actually only play on this violin whenever there is a worldwide string collab, because I like playing one of the viola parts on this violin. Right now, as I'm filming this, we are in the middle of the worldwide string collab again, so that's why I'm playing it, but if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't play it. And the simple reason for that is that this violin, although it has been set up real nice now, is after all still a cheap factory violin. I mean, there is really nothing wrong with it. But if I'm comparing this violin to my acoustic violin, which is a really good quality instrument, I mean, they both work of course, but it's just that this violin is so nice that I don't want to play on this one, because the difference in quality is just huge. Over the years I have played on quite some violins, but in the end I own 3 instruments. I have my good acoustic one, I have this 5-string, And then there's my electric violin. And 3 violins is also plenty enough for me. Well, I really want to have a 5-string violin, but I think it would be better if it wouldn't be an acoustic instrument, but an electric. So I have decided to sell this violin and then get an electric 5-string instead. I'd rather have an electric 5-string violin that is of a really good quality than having an acoustic 5-string that is okay, but which cannot compete with my acoustic violin. So I think an electric 5-string would be of more use to me. So in one of my next few videos, I hope I can take you guys along with me in buying an electric 5-string violin. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching and until next time. Bye!